Super pumped to be live with you here today. And today we're going to be I'm going to be giving you my 3 top tips for avoiding self-sabotage and ruining relationships in moments of crisis. And I'm going to be speaking a lot from personal experience, from mistakes that I've made in my past. And I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to kind of help lead and guide you so that when those moments of crisis happen, you will know, what to do and what not to do to keep moving your business forward. And I have like this piece of lint that's flying around, so squirrel. Anyways, if you're watching and it's not live, drop a replay in the comments so that I can come back in and say hello later. But if you're watching and it is live, say hello, join in on the conversation. That way I can give you a shout out as we go. Hey Melissa, so good to see you. Hey Miriam, good to see you as well. Anyone else is hopping on that wants a shout out, please say hello and make sure that you join in the conversation, because I would love to know your thoughts as we go through my 3 top tips for avoiding that self-sabotage. Okay, so my very first tip when it comes to, in moments of crisis, when things are happening, let's first define what a crisis is, all right? So a crisis can be at any point when emotions are running high, okay? So whether it's in your personal life, things happening with your family, things happening with your kids, maybe it is in your business itself where maybe your integrity is questioned on something, or maybe you, maybe something is not working. Maybe, if you're doing any type of advertising, for example, like Whit and I do, there are times when it's just not working, right? And you have to keep figuring out what you need to do and put together to get it to work. Hey Dustin, so good to see you. So this is anything that causes your emotions to rise up. That's what I'm thinking about when I talk about crisis, okay? Because what seems to happen is it's lots of little moments of crisis that tend to start piling on each other over time that can make you start to make decisions that will sabotage your business, keep you stuck, and potentially ruin relationships with people that you probably don't want to be ruining relationships with, and you don't want to necessarily be distancing yourself from, right? Hey Dustin, Esther, so good to see you. Hey, I know we were just messaging a second ago. So my first tip, hey Billy, good to see you. My first tip for avoiding self-sabotage is don't make decisions out of emotion. And here's the thing, I want to know, let me know in the comments if you are more of an emotional creature. I am, hands down, when it comes to, I'm a person that I tend to feel really hard, right? I'm very in tune with my feelings, and when certain things happen and it gets my emotions going, I can very easily turn into a volcano that will erupt. That's just me. That's the way my personality is. I'm very type A, very competitive, but I do. Yeah, Miriam, you are for sure. Hey, Carrie, so good to see you. So that's the way that I am. And there's been multiple times in my business, even in the last few weeks, when it's I go from 0 to 100 in emotion. And obviously being pregnant doesn't help the situation whatsoever. I think there's times that Whit is ready to check me into a crazy house, and put me in a straitjacket. But here's the thing, it actually is a muscle that needs to be flexed for you to not just be in tune with your emotions, but know how to not lead with your emotions. Let me know if that makes sense, because there's just to kind of give an example, we see it all the times, especially in people that we're helping with their ads, or different things that might be happening, with maybe some of our students where they're spending money trying to learn something, right? Maybe they've invested in themselves, they're in a mentorship company, they're trying to learn the advertising piece and funnels and how certain things go together, and they're spending money. And when you're spending money, it can be very, very easy to let your emotions get in the way, because in the very beginning, chances are you're going to be spending a lot of money and not making a lot of money, right? It's the same thing in network marketing. Chances are you're going to be spending more money than you're actually making in the very beginning. That's entrepreneurship, right? starting any type of business. You're looking at spending money and possibly spending a lot of money before you'll actually be in profit. Billy, especially when it's month end and you're trying to close strong. Talk about emotions. Absolutely, absolutely, Billy. You know, and here's the thing, in the dynamic of a team, you know, like in a network marketing team or whatever, you know, you're working with other people too, and you have other people, other people's personalities. It can be very easy to let emotions run high. But the very first thing you need to make sure that you do in these moments of crisis, when those emotions start to rise, is never have the knee-jerk reaction to react and make decisions based on emotion. Okay, so just to kind of give you guys an example of even something that happened to us just these last few weeks, we had our ad account shut down. So we do run a lot of advertising through Facebook. We absolutely love this platform. We know the rules when it comes to advertising here, but we were shut down. It is what it is. We were shut down once in January. We were shut down again last week. And it can be very, very frustrating to have your ad account shut down, especially like when that is your main source of income, your main source of growing an audience, your main source of growing influence. It can be very frustrating. And here's the thing, like when it was shut down the second time, my emotions, hey Larry, so good to see you. So my emotions were like seriously up here. And I like got to the point where I was just like, screw it all, I'm done, right? Like that's where I was at. Thank heavens I have a rational husband who doesn't necessarily, isn't exactly as emotional as I am. And he was able to bring me back down, right? Because there's always a solution to a problem. And as entrepreneurs, we need to be very good at solving problems. However, if we're leading with emotion, if we have those knee-jerk reactions to just, you know, to maybe attack, or to maybe your emotion is just like it was mine and you're just like, screw it, I'm done, that is going to sabotage your business, right? And here's the thing, if you are like, let's say that our ad account had been shut down and I was going to Facebook and I was like, you know, saying, what the heck? And I was like all mad, that would have been a knee-jerk reaction that could have potentially ruined relationships, right? And so it's so important that when you're making decisions, you leave the emotion out of it. When you're having conversations with team members, maybe something has happened to you, come from a place of seeking understanding, right? Seeking understanding, gaining clarity, gaining information maybe about how decisions were made, or how, you know, like even with Facebook, with certain things, like the very first time, it just happened. Like it was just something that a switch had been flipped and we immediately got our ad account back in. So it's like, don't immediately just go into reaction mode. Take a step back, breathe, and seek clarity from the people, the places, the things you need to be able to make more rational decisions, okay? So, oh, and second of all, like, and with that same thing of, so I have my notes here, and I'm glad that I do because I wanted to make mention of this. Like, don't take things personal. It can be really hard, especially when you're working with a team. You know, it can be really, like, an example, you know, I work really closely with a few people in a mentorship program that we're with. And there's been multiple times where certain individuals have maybe been asked to do something and I haven't. And it can be really hard to like see, you know, other people like start to do other things, but I try to always give people the benefit of the doubt. And if my feelings have ever been hurt, if, you know, maybe if something has happened, and, you know, I always just try to say that, like, I care more about the relationship than I do about the situation that we're in. And so I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I always now, and this is coming from experience, there were times that I didn't always do this, but now I always try to just seek clarity, right? I try to seek clarity, get data, information that I need so that I can think more with my logical side of my brain and less with my emotional side. And like I said before, this is like a muscle that needs to be flexed, especially for us emotional creatures who are used to just, you know, living through our emotions. Not to say emotions are bad, they're actually really great. And when you are so in tune with them, It makes you more empathetic. It makes, like, it can be a really great thing. But at the same time, you can very easily sabotage your business. You can very easily, ruin relationships with other people. So that's my first tip, all right? So don't make decisions based on emotion. Always seek clarity. Always seek understanding before making decisions. Okay, so my second top tip for avoiding self-sabotage in moments of crisis is to stay in your lane. This can be very hard for us type A personalities. If you're a type A where you're very competitive, you like to win, I would love to know, because that is me. I'm not just a person who likes to win. Like, I want to crush you, right? Like, I get very, very competitive, especially when I'm doing something that I'm so passionate about. And here's the thing, it can be a very good thing because it keeps me motivated. I'm very driven. But at the same time, it can also be a detriment to your business. Because if you get to where you're focused on what other people are doing, it makes you lose focus from what you're doing and where you want to go. And there's been several times over the last few weeks when I've actually done this. Type A Christina, yes, I know. I mean, it's not a bad thing, right? I mean, people who are type A, who are very driven, they tend to get results faster than, people who are a little more passive. But it can also be a detriment because we very easily compare ourselves and we compare our results with other people. And one of my mentors, I wish I could remember which one it was. It was a conversation that I had, but it actually completely helped change my thinking in how I am competitive. Because comparing yourself to others, it can be a really good thing if you know how to do it right and how to do it effectively. So now, rather than comparing my results with other people's results like I used to do, and when I would do that and I would see that, like, they were beating me, it could almost, like, kind of kill my spirits a little bit. Now I compare my behaviors and what I'm focusing on each day, what I'm doing to actually get stuff done, with what they're doing. By focusing on behaviors and by focusing on comparing my behaviors with other people, it helps me stay in my lane where I'm still competitive. I'm still I'm still have that drive, but I'm not like so focused on the results that other people are getting now, right? And it's been very, very helpful for me. So don't worry about what other people are doing in your own business. Like, you do you. You stay in your lane. You focus on the things that you know that you're supposed to be focusing on to get those results, and the results will come, right? As long as you are not making decisions in emotion and you're effectively evaluating, what's working with each behavior that you do. Adolfo, thanks for sharing on why not to compare yourself to others. That has been one of my biggest flaws in this industry. In the very beginning, Adolfo, it completely ruined me. Like, I would sabotage myself. I would, because I was so competitive, and because I was so, like, driven and wanted to win and wanted to, like, rank advance and get the results that I wanted. Because I was, like, focusing on these other people, it completely would shut me down. Focus on behaviors, the behaviors that you're supposed to be focusing on, and the results will come. If you're going to compare yourself to others, only compare the behaviors of what they're doing to the behaviors that you're doing. Okay? All right, so those are my top 2. So if you're just joining me, I'm giving you my 3 top tips for avoiding self-sabotage in moments of crisis. And so we're on tip number 3, all right? And that is, and this is going to be one where you're going to be like, maybe you're going to like want to like reach through the camera and slap me. But when you don't feel like doing it, do it anyways. So consistency is everything in building a business, and it's everything in building a team. And if you are not consistent, you are not going to be able to grow, and it's going to be so hard to continue to grow your audience. It's going to be so hard to grow a team because you're so hot and cold. People don't trust, like, whether or not you're going to be around, right? And so it's so important that when you, and this is another muscle that needs to be stretched, but when you don't feel like doing it, in those moments of crisis, when you are like that, when things happen and you get like, it's like a WTF moment, right? You're just like, what the, I'm done, like I'm out. It can, in those moments where like emotions run high, it can be very easy to shut down and just say, I'm done. It can be very easy to say, you know what? I've got all of this going on. I'm not going to do that Facebook Live. I've got all this going on. I'm going to reschedule that sales call. Here's the thing. In those moments, it's when you need to push through and continue to do things anyways. Put the emotion aside, no knee-jerk reactions, and keep moving forward. And so if you have not, there's a TED Talk that was done by Mel Robbins. It's called the 5-second rule. And I watched this TED Talk, and I actually went and saw her speak. I think it was 2.5 years ago when I saw that, maybe about 3 years ago when I saw that for the first time. Completely changed my behavior when I felt like I needed to procrastinate something. Who are my procrastinators? I am a procrastinator. There are times where like I will put off doing something all day long, and then all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm like, I should have done that. Maybe I'm not going to do that. If that's you, I mean, we're all human, right? Like it's going to happen eventually. It's those moments when you feel like, oh, I just don't want to do this, where she talks about count to 5 and give yourself 5 seconds and make the decision to do it. And so that's literally what I've done over the last few years when I'm like, I just don't want to do that Facebook Live, or, oh, I just don't want to write that email, or I don't want to do that. I count to 5, and while I'm counting to 5, I'm thinking about my purpose, right? For those network marketers who are out there, you call it your why. I call it my purpose, because to me, purpose is so much deeper than just a why, right? And so I'm thinking about my purpose, and I'm thinking about, what are the reasons that I actually got started in this business to begin with? And if I don't do this, like this is going through my head in those 5 seconds, and if I decide not to do this right now, is it getting me closer or farther away from the impact I'm wanting to make, from the lifestyle I'm wanting to live? And if it takes me away, it is so much easier for me to just say, you know what, I'm just going to go do it. I'm just going to do it. So count to 5. When you have those moments where you're like thinking about procrastinating, or you have those moments where you're just like, I'm done, screw this, I'm over it, like emotions are too high, take a deep breath, count to 5, and go do it anyways. And this is something that you're going to have to force yourself to focus on, especially if you're that procrastinator, right, Esther, Miriam? Like, if you're like me, it's not going to come easy, but the more you do it, the more you train your mind to do it over the coming months, it's going to be easier and easier for you to just take action. Because it's like, when I'm now that I've done it for so long, it's like, I don't even necessarily have to start counting to 5, because I know that like the second I hit 1, I'm just like, I'm just going to do it, because I know that I'm going to do it anyways, because the reason that I'm doing this is so deep in my core that I'm going to continue. So, and another thing to help you, be consistent. It can be really hard to be consistent in things that are maybe not our strengths, right? Maybe things that are weaknesses. So when you are having those moments of crisis, focus on your strengths. Is your strength copywriting? For me, I love copywriting. I love telling stories through words. Is it video marketing? Like, do you love getting on camera? And, like, what is it that, like, gets you really excited about your business? Maybe it is having, like, one-on-one conversations with people. You love, connecting and being social that way. Whatever your strengths are in this business, in those moments of crisis, it's going to be those strengths that help keep you moving forward. There's times when crisis happens, and it can be really, like, even though I'm very driven, I'm very type A, I'm actually pretty introverted, believe it or not. How I, when I, like, if I'm like in a big group of people, I need to have time to like, rejuvenate, right? Like recharge. I'm not a person that likes to be the one to like start a conversation. It's not something that I like to do. I do have extroverted qualities because I've practiced them and I've developed them over the years. But for us introverted people, when you have a weakness, and maybe like being that introvert is your weakness, if you can find something to focus on that is a strength, it's going to be much easier to move forward in those moments of crisis because your confidence is going to be higher. You know, in times of emotion, when maybe you're really sad, maybe you're really hurt, or maybe you're really mad, maybe you're frustrated or you're upset, focusing on your strengths is going to help you because it's like the things that you have the most confidence in. So I'd love to know, what were your biggest takeaways from this Facebook Live? Just to kind of recap, you know, my top 3 tips. The first one is don't make decisions out of emotion. All right. Even if you're an emotional creature like I am, this is a muscle you need to learn to flex, where you step back, take a deep breath, and instead of, you know, going into attack and reacting that way, instead seek clarity, seek understanding. Those type of, you know, going at it from more of a logical brain is going to help you so much more than, you know, leading with that emotion. The second tip that I have is staying in your lane. It can be so hard, especially if you're if you're that type A driven and you're very competitive and you like to win, because it can be easy to compare yourself to other people. Don't do it. If you're going to compare, only compare your behaviors and their behaviors. Don't compare by results. Don't compare by looks for us women, right? Like, don't compare by anything else other than what are the behaviors that they're focusing on each day to get the results that I want? What are the behaviors that I'm focusing on? And is there something they're doing that maybe I'm not doing that will help me get results faster? And the third thing is, when you don't feel like doing it, do it anyways. And you can definitely check out Mel Robbins' TED Talk. She has a book as well that you can read where she talks about that. It completely changed my life when I read that. So, Adolfo, introvert, so much value in this video. Oh, I'm so glad. You're very welcome. Takeaway, don't procrastinate. And if you don't want to do it anyway. Ask yourself if it gets you closer to your purpose or further away. Love it. Love it. I'm so glad you guys got value. Continued commenting. Let me know what your value was. Don't compare results or looks, but by behaviors. Good, good. I'm so glad, Esther. So if you don't have your notifications set so that you know when we go live, make sure you do that right now, because you don't want to miss out on any of the value that we provide here on this page. So everyone have a great day, and we will talk to you guys soon. All right? Avoid that self-sabotage. Avoid